faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books from around the globe. Hi, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today we're exploring the book, The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs. Ever had that presentation experience? On stage, you're so nervous you babble incoherently, just reading word for word from slides. You thought your material was super detailed and impressive, but instead of applause, some audience members actually goes off. So how do you actually give a great presentation? Well, today's book will help you present like Apple's legendary founder, Steve Jobs. Jobs is widely considered a presentation master. Since unveiling the Macintosh in 1984, Jobs delivered one iconic presentation after another. YouTube alone hosts over 30,000 clips of his speeches. When he missed Macworld 2009, diehard fans even held protests. So where did Jobs' presentation magic come from? Author Carmine Gallo is a top American speaking coach who also wrote the bestseller Talk Like TED. In this book, he analyzes Jobs' speeches through core presentation principles, deconstructing the source of his magic. Gallo believes with dedicated practice, any presenter can reach Jobs' level. I'll break this down into 3 parts. First, crafting speeches that grab attention. Second, stage design that enhances the live experience. Third, commanding the stage to connect with audiences. Let's start with part 1, crafting attention-grabbing speeches. Think of presentations as theater. Your script is the play's foundation. A strong script hooks audiences. 3 key elements. First, a direct opening. Your opener must answer the audience's burning question. What's in this for me? Like when pitching clients. Will this product save you money? Will it lighten their burden of use? This statement must be concise and get straight to the point, making it instantly understandable. For example, when launching the iPhone 3G in June 2088, Jobs directly told the audience the benefits of the new iPhone. Price cut in half, speed doubled. The author once helped a CEO revise a terrible opening statement. This CEO started like, "Our company develops intelligent semiconductor IP solutions systems that dramatically boost complex chip speeds while minimizing risks." Did you understand that opening? It's neither concise nor easy to grasp, and the chip speed mentioned has no direct relevance to the audience. What the audience cares about is, what benefits does faster chip speed bring me? So the CEO should directly name that benefit in the opening. After the author's coaching, the CEO's opening became, "The chips in the phones you're holding, many are made using software we developed. These chips keep getting smaller and cheaper. Your phone will become more compact with longer battery life." With this change, the audience instantly grasped the benefit of smaller chips. It's about their own interests. Lighter phones and longer battery life. That's how you keep them listening. Even with a compelling opener, you must hold their attention through the entire speech. Maybe you've experienced this in class or lectures. You zone out and forget earlier points, not because you're inattentive. After all, at events like launches, only journalists take notes. Regular audiences rarely do. That's why your script needs a structure that sustains interest, the second key element for engagement. The rule of 3. Most skilled speakers follow this when structuring their content. Picture your speech as a pyramid. The core topic is the peak, then main points below, followed by supporting details down to the base. And limit each level to 3 key points max. Human short-term memory holds very little information. Contemporary scientists believe that the number of items the brain can easily remember should not exceed 4. Suppose you have 7 points. By the time you reach the 7th, the audience has long forgotten them. By the time you discuss the first point, the audience has forgotten the content. The author found that Jobs typically avoided exceeding 3 key points. Well, for example, when introducing Apple's business, Jobs divided it into 3 parts. In his PowerPoint, he represented it with a wooden stool having 3 legs, each symbolizing one of Apple's business segments. The first leg for Apple computers and iMac, the second for Apple's music business, iPod and iTunes. The third part is Apple's phone, the iPhone. The rule of three also applies to subpoints. Under each main point, we can further break it down into three subpoints. For instance, the Apple Developer Conference held in June 2008. When Jobs introduced the iPhone 3G as a key point, he broke it down into three subpoints, setting three challenges for the Apple phone. First, faster network speeds. Second, selling the iPhone in more countries. Third, more affordable pricing. Finally, let's discuss the third element, using classic story arcs to captivate the audience. Many compelling stories feature a classic arc. The villain ruins people's originally peaceful lives. Then, the hero appears just in time, defeats the villain, and restores people's lives to be even better. Creating a speech script can also follow this template. Jobs was also a master at this. He'd introduce a villain in his speeches to heighten audience tension. At the story's climax, he'd bring in the hero to vanquish the villain. Jobs would create an antagonist in every era. First, when Apple entered a new market, Jobs portrayed the existing market leader as the villain. In 1984, Apple launched the Macintosh computer to challenge IBM, then the dominant force in personal computers. At a shareholder meeting, Jobs aired an ad where laborers listened to a leader's lecture on a giant blue screen. Then, a fit blonde woman wielding a sledgehammer breaks through the crowd and smashes the blue screen. This blue screen represented IBM, since IBM was known as Big Blue in the industry. In the ad, it symbolized the oppressive bully, while the blonde women represented Apple Computer, a hero fighting against tyranny. This one-minute ad convinced Apple shareholders that Jobs could shatter IBM's monopoly. Next, when Apple upgraded its products, Jobs would turn the old product line into the villain. At the 2006 Macworld conference, Apple released its first laptop with an Intel processor. Before that, Apple's processor supplier was IBM, which was once a pioneer in PC processors but lost to Intel in the competition. At this launch event, Jobs similarly set up a hateful villain. This villain was Apple's own previous product, the PowerBook, with its power-hungry, bulky IBM G5 processor, blocking users from a thinner, higher performance experience. After Jobs listed all the flaws of the G5 processor, the hero arrived, the MacBook with Intel's Core 2 Duo processor. Finally, when Apple became the tech leader, Jobs portrayed all rivals as villains. At the 2007 Macworld conference, Apple launched the iPhone, challenging all smartphones on the market. Jobs listed four phones on his PowerPoint. Each had either a bulky keyboard or an unnecessary stylus. These features hindered the phone's smooth experience. By now, Jobs had planted a villain in the audience's minds. Finally, Jobs unveiled the hero, the iPhone, with Apple's revolutionary touchscreen for direct finger interaction, making it more human-friendly. Those are the three elements for crafting engaging stories: a direct opening, the rule of three, and using classic story arcs to captivate the audience. Beyond an engaging script, the audience's live experience is crucial. Now, let's dive into part two: how to design the stage to enhance the audience's live experience, which involves two approaches. The first approach is reducing the audience's cognitive load. This includes three methods. The first method to reduce cognitive load is creating concise PowerPoints. After writing an engaging script, should we just dump it all onto the PowerPoint? Or maybe keep it simple by listing the main and subpoints from the pyramid structure? Of course, plenty of people do it that way. However, the latest research shows that even listing points step by step on your PPT adds unnecessary burden to your audience. To reduce the audience's burden, Jobs would start by using concise language when making his PPTs. For example, at the 2008 Macworld conference, Jobs talked about the achievements of the Mac OS X operating system after its release. He said, "I'm thrilled to tell you that within 3 months of launch, we sold 5 million copies. Unbelievable, right?" This was the most successful launch ever for Mac OS X. And the PPT slide for this had just one sentence: 5 million copies sold in the first 3 months. Also, to cut down on wordy descriptions, sometimes Jobs would just pair the PPT with an image, because pictures pack way more info than words and leave a stronger impression. For instance, when introducing iTunes, Jobs put a picture of the iTunes homepage right on the PPT. If the image has too much info, that's when you got to add arrows. And using arrows to highlight key points on the PPT really helps lighten the audience's load. The second method is using easy to grasp numbers. Numbers rarely click with the audience because they're usually too abstract. So if you must use numbers in your talk, put them in a context the audience gets. One main way to do this is with analogies. For example, when pitching the iPod's capacity, Jobs didn't say it had 5 gigabytes of memory. He said, put 1,000 songs in your pocket. Obviously, how many songs it holds is way more intuitive and easier to understand than memory size. So, another example, in a 2003 Rolling Stone interview, Jobs was asked how he felt about Apple's US market share stuck at 5%. He said, "Our market share is bigger than BMW or Mercedes in the auto industry." Yet, no one thinks BMW or Mercedes will vanish from the market, and no one believes they're hurting badly because of their market share. 5% market share sounds kinda small. By drawing an analogy to the auto industry, Jobs directly wiped out people's doubts. After covering easy to grasp numbers, let's look at the third method to reduce cognitive load: controlling speech duration. Cognitive research shows brains fatigue easily, with attention spans maxing out around 10 minutes. Your audience will definitely zone out by the 11th minute. To solve this, control your speech length. Like modern US presidents who keep speeches under 20 minutes to appeal to voters. Or like Jobs, limit each concept to under 10 minutes with video breaks to let brains rest. For example, at the 2007 Macworld keynote, exactly 10 minutes in, Jobs played an iTunes iPod ad. Hey, that concludes the first aspect of enhancing live experience: reducing cognitive burden. Now let's discuss the second aspect: increasing engagement. I'll focus on two methods. First, live demonstrations. In October 2008, Apple launched the MacBook line featuring unibody frames carved from single aluminum blocks. This made laptops lighter, thinner, sturdier, and way cooler than previous models. 25 minutes into his speech, Jobs began discussing this new aluminum frame. He could have just described it or shown photos, but instead had staff distribute frame samples to the audience. One sample per row got passed around. For a full minute, Jobs stayed silent, letting the product speak for itself. Another way to boost engagement: invite guests on stage for theatrical moments. Jobs never did solo acts, he shared the stage to create drama. For instance, at 2006's Macworld, Apple debuted its first Intel processor laptop. Jobs specially invited Intel CEO Paul Otellini for support. Otellini's entrance was epic, emerging from dry ice fog in a white bunny suit holding a silicon wafer. He walked towards Jobs and said, "Intel is ready." And once, Jobs even invited himself, Noah Wiley, the actor who played Jobs in Pirates of Silicon Valley. At the 1999 Macworld, Jobs pranked the audience. First appeared a fake Jobs wearing his signature blue jeans, black turtleneck, and sneakers, delivering a mock, serious speech. When two Jobs appeared on stage, fans went wild. That concludes methods for enhancing the live audience experience. We approach it from two angles: reducing cognitive load and boosting engagement. Now to part 3. Mastering stage presence for better audience connection. Crafting scripts and stage design are just prep work. The real challenge is delivering well on stage. How do you ace that? It boils down to relentless practice. Research shows mastering any field to world-class level requires 10,000 hours of practice, the 10,000-hour rule. Jobs' speaking skills weren't innate. He earned them through grueling training. When first unveiling the Macintosh, he spoke hidden behind a podium. By 1997, after returning to Apple, he paced confidently. By 2007's Macworld, he commanded the stage flawlessly. So how can you command the stage like Jobs? Speakers must practice three areas. First, body language, gestures, and eye contact. Gestures physically express your thoughts. Jobs used gestures to emphasize key points. For instance, when predicting laptops surpassing desktops, he slowly spread his hands wide to symbolize expanding markets. Crucially, be authentic. Don't mimic others, develop your own style. Old school coaches telling speakers to clamp hands at their sides actually disrupt thinking. Gestures are natural. Suppressing them distracts. Next is eye contact, which is also part of body language. Research-backed emphasis, people associate eye contact with trustworthiness, sincerity, and confidence. Avoiding it makes you seem insecure and unfit to lead. Breaking eye contact always sever the speaker-audience connection. Most speakers spend way too much time reading PPT text word for word, but Jobs rarely glanced at his PPT because his slides were too minimalist to read from. Pulling this off requires strong improvisation skills and adaptability. First improvisation comes from knowing your material, cold and relentless rehearsal. For example, Jobs knew every slide by heart, exactly what to say when specific words appeared. The more he rehearsed, the more instinctive it became, freeing him from slides or teleprompters for deeper eye contact. Next is adaptability. Speeches rarely go exactly as planned. That's when adaptability kicks in. Prepare multiple backup plans. Like in Q&A sessions, you can't predict every question, but anticipate common themes and craft versatile answers. When unexpected questions arise, steer them toward your prepared responses. Okay, versatile answers. Having covered body language, let's move to the second aspect, vocal delivery. Here, vocal delivery means tone, pace, and volume. Jobs controlled the stage through vocal shifts, starting with tone variations to energize the room. Imagine how flat an iPhone launch would have been if Jobs used one monotone throughout. Um, Jobs loved adjectives: unbelievable, awesome, cool, massive. Said without vocal inflection, these words lose all impact. Jobs constantly modulated his tone, keeping audiences riding his mental wavelength and cheering. Second is varying speaking pace. During product demos, Jobs typically used a normal pace. But when titles or key info appear, he dramatically slowed down so the audience remembers, sometimes even stopping. Jobs didn't talk nonstop. At key points, he'd often pause for seconds, letting the message sink into the audience's minds. Oh, most speakers sound rushed, but Jobs never hurried. His speeches were meticulously rehearsed, giving him time to slow down, pause, and highlight key info. Finally, changing volume adds drama. Jobs did this for hot new products. Lower volume to build hype, then raise it at the climax. Sometimes he'd reverse it. For example, introducing the first iPod, he raised volume. Carrying your whole music library everywhere is a huge leap in listening. Then he lowered volume to reveal the iPod's killer feature. But the iPod's coolest thing is it fits your whole music library in your pocket. The last training aspect is ditching filler words. Almost everyone uses them. Short ones like ah, or longer ones like you know. I'll tell ya, filler words fill thinking gaps. During filler moments, the brain races to think what's next. In casual talk, fillers don't hurt, but in speeches, they ruin the audience's experience because they're fluff. Listeners just want substance. So how to ditch fillers? First, record your practice. Just 5 minutes exposes common fillers. Find them. Next practice, consciously avoid them. Second, ask people. Show your speech video for them to point out annoying fillers. Only blunt criticism fixes flaws. Finally, Get an assistant. During rehearsals, each filler word, they tap a cup. With cup tapping distraction, thinking breaks, fillers lose their gap filling role, and you quickly break the habit. All right, we've finished covering the presentation secrets of Steve Jobs for you. Let's quickly recap the book's content on becoming a presentation master like Jobs. First, you need to learn how to create engaging speeches. An engaging speech has three key elements. First, use a direct opening to quickly grab the audience. And second, structure your speech with the rule of three so the audience doesn't get lost. Third, wrap your speech in classic story arcs. Everyone loves a hero defeating the villain. Next, enhancing the live audience experience involves two approaches. The first approach is reducing cognitive burden through methods like concise PPTs, easy to grasp numbers, and controlling speech length. The second approach is boosting engagement. You can demonstrate products live or invite guests on stage to create dramatic effects. Finally, mastering the stage requires long-term training. This section summarizes three training aspects. First aspect, body language, using natural gestures for emphasis, maintaining eye contact, not just reading slides. Second aspect, vocal delivery, varying tone, pace, and volume to set the mood and create drama. Third aspect, using videos and seeking help to ditch annoying filler words. Presentation skills are now essential in the workplace. Whether it's company funding or product launches, they all depend on presentation quality. Similarly, a single idea, a career, or even your entire professional life hinges on how effectively you communicate your views. But luckily, Jobs' speaking techniques are replicable. Once mastered, you'll find you have his superpower too. All right, that concludes our interpretation of the presentation secrets of Steve Jobs. The reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.